Bonjour et bienvenue chez French Sounds. Welcome to French Sounds. Today we're going to work on two issues. The first is the pronunciation of the consonant j, and the second one involves the pronunciation differences with stem-changing verbs in the present tense. Now these stem-changing verbs are sometimes called boot verbs or shoe verbs. And why would that be the case? Because if you look here, when you put the conjugations side by side, the singular on one side and the plural on the other, and if you draw a line around those conjugations that have the spelling change and thus are pronounced differently, you have the form of a shoe or a boot. It's only the nous and vous that will be similar to the infinitive. Now, all stem-changing verbs end in ER. And the three types that we will be discussing here are E consonant ER, where the E in front of the consonant changes to an E accent grave inside the boot. Another one is also E consonant ER, but in this one, the consonant doubles inside the boot, thus changing the pronunciation of the vowel. Finally, we have E accent aigu consonant ER, in which the E accent aigu changes to E accent grave inside the boot. The three verbs we are going to use to illustrate the pronunciation differences are geler, jeter, and suggérer. All three contain the consonant j. Now let's talk a little bit about how to form the j. It's the voiced version of sh for sh. The tongue is up close to the palate, the sides of the tongue are touching the palate, and there is a very small opening in the central part of the tongue that allows air to pass, and because the opening is so small, the air is given out with a friction sound. Now, if you voice the sh, in other words, if you make your vocal cords vibrate as though you were pronouncing a vowel, you're going to get j. Let's try it. Sh, sh. Okay? Now let's try the pronunciation of the first group of E consonant ER, where the E changes to E accent grave. Geler. Répétez après moi, s'il vous plaît. Je gèle. Tu gèles. Il gèle. Elle gèle. Nous gelons. Vous gelez. Il gèle. Elle gèle. Notice that inside the boot you have an open E, sound. Outside the boot, and for the infinitive, you have an je. Now it's also possible to drop that E, especially when you're dealing with a verb like acheter. You wouldn't necessarily say nous achetons, vous achetez. You would almost always hear nous achetons, vous achetez, because that E is a mute E and it drops completely when surrounded by two pronounced consonants. Now let's move on to jeter. Jeter and appeler are two common verbs that double the consonant to form an sound inside the boot. Répétez après moi, s'il vous plaît. Je jette. Tu jettes. Il jette. Elle jette. Nous jetons. Vous jetez. Il jette. Elle jette. And if you notice that all forms of the conjugation inside the boot are pronounced exactly the same. And moving on to the third form, suggérer. Here we have an E accent aigu that changes to E accent grave. Répétez après moi s'il vous plaît. Je suggère. Notice that the first G is hard, the second G is soft, like J. Encore une fois, once more. Je suggère. Tu suggères. Il suggère. Elle suggère. Nous suggérons. Vous suggérez. Il suggère. Elle suggère. Okay, so that's all for today. There is also another type of stem changing verb where you have a Y-E-R at the end, but we're going to discuss that in a different video. Alors, bon courage, continuez vos répétitions et à très bientôt. Au revoir.